Her name was Marchie, a young orphan who lived under the roof of Mr. and Mrs. Olo. Life with them was filled with constant beatings and endless chores that stretched late into the night. Everyone in the compound despised the way she was treated. Neighbors whispered about Mrs. Olo's cruelty, outraged at how a child could be subjected to such misery. Some even swore they would alert the police, only to strangely forget about it moments later. This unsettling pattern continued until a new family moved into the compound. Debo, his wife Tinu, and their 3 children became their neighbors and immediately disapproved of the harsh treatment Marchie endured. Many nights, Debo would wake as late as 2 a.m. and find the poor girl scrubbing heaps of laundry outside. Each time he prepared to report to the authorities, yet somehow his resolve dissolved, as if his mind slipped away. Once, Debo even confronted Mr. Olo, intending to warn him, but the words stuck in his throat. It seemed that whenever anyone focused on Marchie, their memory clouded until they simply let go of the thought. The Olos were so detested that when their only surviving child died, after losing the first years before, neighbors openly mocked them. "Serves them right for tormenting another person's child," Ta said with grim satisfaction. Marchie, however, never wavered in respect. Each evening after work, she knelt to greet Ta, which made Tinu quietly wish the girl belonged in her care instead. But one night, everything changed. A piercing scream echoed from the Olo's flat. Neighbors rushed over, only to find the ceiling had collapsed, killing the entire family instantly. Astonishment swept the compound. While many muttered that the Olos had gotten what they deserved, no one questioned how Marchie alone survived. Without hesitation, Debo and Tinu welcomed Marchie into their home, showering her with kindness and comfort. For a while, life seemed brighter, until 1 month later. Late at night, Marchie rose from bed and transformed into a terrifying, ancient-looking woman. Bent and wrinkled, she shuffled into Debo's children's room, muttering curses under her breath in a strange tongue. She stood over them, watching with chilling intent. Then she picked up their youngest child, walked straight through the wall, and vanished into the night, whistling an eerie tune. No one could see her, except through a mirror. Even if neighbors were awake, they would not have noticed her pass. She reappeared at a distant river, where a circle of other women awaited. They bowed low in greeting. Marchie, now resembling a 150-year-old crone, placed the sleeping child in her lap and announced, "I bring you a gift. I now live with another family. They have 3 children." The women cheered and embraced her. One of them presented a bowl of strange liquid, smiling wickedly. "I bring this," she said. The others inhaled the scent and cried in unison, "We know that smell." She confirmed proudly, "Yes, it is what you think. I lay with 10 men and took their essence." The group applauded. Each woman revealed her own offering, casting it into a great pot. Soon, they feasted together, devouring the mixture as though it were a banquet. Afterward, Marchie returned the lifeless child, whose spirit had been stolen and fed to her sisters, back to his bed. She shifted back into her innocent self. By morning, Tinu entered her children's room and found her youngest lying motionless, face down. She screamed in horror as neighbors gathered. Debo rushed the child to the hospital, but on their way, Ta witnessed something terrifying. Marchie, moments ago weeping, now smiling and conversing with a monstrous figure at the doorway. The creature vanished instantly, leaving only that dreadful image burned in Ta's mind. At the hospital, doctors placed the boy, now in a coma, on oxygen. But within 2 hours he was gone. Debo wept uncontrollably. Tinu, unable to shed a tear, replayed the disturbing vision in her mind, desperate to know if she had imagined it. After the funeral, she grew cautious, secretly watching Marchie. Yet, weeks passed with the girl appearing nothing but gentle and obedient. Doubt crept in, and Tinu began to ease, until another restless night changed everything. Grieving and unable to sleep, she decided to spend the night with her children. On her way, she heard faint whispers and giggles from Marchie's room. Quietly, she opened the door, only to find nothing. Shaking her head, she muttered, "Maybe I'm just overthinking," and went back to bed. The next day, however, she noticed their neighbors behaving strangely toward them. Some avoided greetings. Children were forbidden from playing with hers. Whenever she questioned Marchie, The girl only replied that she was being sent on errands. Slowly, hostility spread through the compound until Tinu and her family were despised by all. 8 months later, another tragedy struck. One night, Marchie shouted, "Fire!" Debo and Tinu rushed to find their children's room ablaze. They saved one child, but the second was horribly burned before they could pull her out. Their hearts shattered. To Tinu's horror, the neighbor seemed oddly delighted, whispering that divine punishment had struck only their children's room. Broken, Debo and Tinu began searching for a new home. But Marchie was not finished. She longed to sacrifice the entire family before moving on, just as she had done before. The spell she had cast over the compound made it difficult for anyone to think clearly. "I wanted both children. It would have been easier to take Debo and Tinu afterward," she muttered angrily in her room. "How did one survive? I will bring their baby to our next gathering. They cannot escape me." The day before the ritual, Tinu's mother visited, grief heavy in her voice. "How can I lose 2 grandchildren in 1 year?" she cried. Marchie entered quietly, knelt to greet her, then rose to leave. But as she walked away, a rotten toenail slipped from her foot. Grandma picked it up, her eyes widening in disbelief. This nail. It couldn't possibly belong to this little girl, she thought. That night, while Debo and Tinu slept beside their only surviving child, Marchie was preparing for the sacrifice. Outside, she pounded away at the mortar. The neighbors, disturbed by the sound, cursed Debo and Tinu for making Marchie run errands so late. But to Debo and Tinu, Marchie was fast asleep in her room. Grandma, however, heard the pounding and faint whispers. She went to the window and saw Marchie working the mortar. "What on earth is she doing?" Grandma muttered, rushing outside to scold her. But as she passed Marchie's room, she froze. "Isn't that Marchie sleeping in there?" she asked herself in shock. She opened the door, and indeed, Marchie lay sound asleep. Yet the pounding outside only grew louder. Fear gripped her chest. She tried to scream, but no sound came. She tried again, but still nothing. Grandma crept into her own room, and there stood Marchie, holding a knife. Voiceless with terror, Grandma ran to her daughter's room, pounding on the door. Tinu rushed out, startled at the sight of her terrified mother. "Mama, what's wrong? Why are you knocking like that?" she asked. Her mother struggled to speak, but not a word came. Alarmed, Tinu and her husband tried to calm her down. By morning, Grandma was burning with fever and struggling to breathe. Tinu and Debo rushed her to the hospital. There, Grandma was sedated because her panic attacks made her frantic as she tried to explain. Now truly afraid, Tinu never left her only surviving child's side. Fear clung to her, though she couldn't explain why. While Grandma was still hospitalized, the family managed to find another apartment. "We're moving tomorrow," Tinu told a neighbor. But the neighbor ignored her. Tinu couldn't understand why everyone hated them so much. She didn't realize that Marchie had been painting her as a mistreated orphan, just as she had done to Debo and Tinu, and to the family she lived with before. Marchie knew exactly how to twist the truth, manipulating everyone into believing she was an abused orphan, making it easier for her to slip into a new household. 2 days before the move, Tinu got a call from the hospital. Her mother had regained consciousness and wanted to see her. Tinu asked Marchie to keep packing while she went. But Marchie resented Grandma's survival. That hot afternoon, she called an urgent meeting with her companions. They gathered in Tinu's bedroom, sighing in frustration. "Why are you taking so long to finish this family and move on?" one demanded. Marchie smirked. "Be patient. I want to destroy them all at once, Grandma included. Tonight will be their end. I need to move fast and win another family's heart in this compound." The others laughed darkly. At the hospital, Grandma still couldn't speak, so she asked for a pen and paper. Weakly, she tried to write Marchie's name but couldn't. Once the doctor confirmed she was stable, she was discharged. That night, while the family slept, their door creaked open. Marchie, disguised as an old woman, entered holding a small calabash. Her companions appeared in the parlor. Lifting her calabash high, Marchie shouted, "Now we take what belongs to us. Let this house burn. Let them all perish, and may their blood fill our calabash." They waited for smoke to rise, for destruction like the one Marchie had once unleashed on the Olo household. But then Grandma walked into the parlor. You think you've won? You don't know who you're dealing with. Marchie spun around. Do you think your petty charms can stop us? Do you know how old we are? She sneered. But suddenly, Tinu's voice cut through the room. Mama, what are you doing? Don't tell me you're a witch. Why are you holding a red calabash? Where did you get it from? As Grandma turned to show her daughter the truth, Marchie and her companions vanished. Only Marchie stood there. So you're a witch, Mother? Did you come to kill me and my family? Tinu accused, horrified. Marchie smiled, satisfied. She had successfully turned mother against daughter. Tinu's cries drew the entire compound, still under Marchie's control, into the parlor. One by one, their hearts hardened against Grandma, accusing her of murdering her own grandchildren. Standing with the red calabash filled with white feathers, Grandma couldn't explain herself. Terrified and confused, Tinu screamed at her mother to leave. Marchie, hearing this, grinned. At dawn, Grandma left in shame. The whole compound despised Tinu's family, but Grandma went straight to seek help. You will never win, Marchie. You and your followers will never win, Grandma wept. The blind seer shook her head. These women are older than time. You cannot defeat them, but you can expose them. Once revealed, the spell blinding everyone will shatter. Mix ashes with the fresh blood of a bird. Pour it on Marchie in front of everyone before tomorrow midnight. Tomorrow is their festival. Marchie plans to sacrifice your daughter's family. Do you know she has been masquerading as a young orphan for over 50 years? Countless families take her in as a helper, unaware of who she is. All her followers are housemaids in different homes, destroying family after family. Marchie killed your daughter's 2 children, and now the whole compound is under her sway. You must hurry. Grandma phoned Debo, trying to warn him. Marchie is not human, she wept. If you don't send her away by tomorrow night, she'll kill you all. My daughter is under her spell and won't listen to me. But Debo cut her off angrily. Why is your mother dabbling in dark magic? How dare she accuse this innocent orphan of being a witch? Furious, Tinu called her mother, shouting, Mama, don't ever come to my house again. You're no longer my mother. You killed my 2 children, and now you're accusing a little girl, young enough to be your grandchild, of it. I am ashamed to even call you my mother. Listen well, never set foot in my house again. Marchie, who had been eavesdropping on the conversation, felt a surge of joy. Tinu's mother, left in confusion and despair, prepared herself the next morning and boarded a bus to go see her daughter. If I don't expose Marchie, I will lose my only child forever. She wept silently on her way there. When she arrived, she took a seat at a small shop across the street, keeping her eyes fixed on her daughter's compound, waiting for the right moment to try her luck. Evening was falling when she spotted Marchie and Tinu carrying some trash outside. Quickly, she covered her face with a large scarf, slipped inside the compound, entered Tinu's flat, and hid herself in Marchie's wardrobe. I'll throw this mixture on Marchie the moment she steps inside, Tinu's mother whispered, trembling with fear. But as soon as Marchie entered the house, she sensed something unusual. She knew someone was there, though she couldn't tell who or where. From inside the wardrobe, Tinu's mother could hear her daughter's voice on the phone, arguing with her husband. You don't come home until late at night anymore. You don't even ask about our moving plans. You know this was supposed to be our last night here. I can't take this anymore. I'm tired, Tinu sobbed bitterly. Marchie ran into her room giggling. We've succeeded in turning them against each other. Now getting rid of them will be easy. No sooner had she spoken than 5 haggard, ancient-looking women appeared on her bed. Hurry up, they snarled. We crave blood. We can't wait to move on to another family. Hide for now, Marchie whispered. I'll tell you when it's time. Once Marchie left the room, Tinu's mother peeked out and saw the women crawl into a strange box beside Marchie's bed. It was a portal. Her sinister companions traveled through it. I must destroy that box once they come out. If I succeed when I expose them, they'll have no way of returning to wherever they came from, Grandma thought. At exactly 1 a.m., Marchie entered her room and said, It's time. Instantly, the box creaked open and the old women crawled out. The noise startled Grandma awake inside the wardrobe. She waited until they all left, then crept out, weary and hungry but determined. I must save my daughter and her family, she whispered, hurrying toward the box. She tried to lift it, but it was impossible. So she sprinkled over it the ash mixed with bird's blood she had prepared. The box began to melt with a loud, eerie sound. The noise drew Marchie back into the room. Horrified, she rushed to rescue the box, crying out, "No! No!" When she looked up and saw Grandma, she gasped, "You!" Marchie lunged to kill her, but Grandma bravely threw the mixture on her. A piercing scream burst from Marchie, loud enough for the entire compound to hear. That cry shattered the spell of spiritual captivity binding them all. As Tinu and her husband Debo rushed toward Marchie's room, neighbors also gathered, alarmed by the noise. Inside, Tinu saw a grotesque, half-human figure attacking her mother. "What are you doing here, Mama? And who is this?" she shouted, pointing at Marchie's monstrous form. "That is Marchie," her mother cried out. Tinu ran to her mother's side, relieved that at last her daughter believed her. But the other old women charged at them, shrieking. Tinu and her mother screamed for help as Grandma continued flinging the burning mixture, keeping them at bay. "Run! I'll hold them off," Grandma shouted. Tinu fled with her husband and child as their neighbors gathered in confusion. "Marchie is a demon. She turned into something unspeakable," Tinu cried, pointing toward her home. The crowd stormed inside and witnessed a terrifying sight. Marchie's body morphing, her face stuck halfway between her own and that of the hideous old woman. As Grandma kept throwing the mixture on her, everyone screamed and ran in terror. But just as Grandma tried to escape with the neighbors, Marchie grabbed hold of her. In an instant, she vanished along with her companions. Silence fell over the compound. Tinu waited desperately for her mother to return, but she never came back. She had given her life to save her only child and her family. Tinu and her husband searched everywhere, asked everyone, visited countless places in hopes of finding her, but she was never found. The lesson remains. When you see trouble in another family, as Tinu and Debo had seen in the home where Marchie once lived, don't assume you know the full story or rush to judge. You may end up walking into danger. Evil often wears the mask of innocence to stir sympathy. Don't judge situations by appearances alone. Seek the truth, because blind compassion without wisdom can open the door to destruction. Always look deeper before letting someone into your home or your life. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.